All praise is due unto Allah, the Almighty, the most merciful, the most beneficent. It is He whom Allah guides. You will not be able to mislead. And it is He who Allah allows to go astray. You will not find for guidance. And I bear witness that there are none worthy of being worshipped but the Almighty Allah, and that Muhammad is His prophet and His messenger. Allah Azza wa Jal says, O you who have faith, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatih. Be pious towards Allah Azza wa Jal as you ought to be, as you should be. And die not unless you are on a state of submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. Die not unless you are on a state of Islam. It is known to all of us that we will die by the same state that we live by. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us among those who live as Muslims, die as mu'mins bi'idnihi ta'ala. And as to what follows, Umar Bin AbdulAziz radiallahu anhu used to have a servant, a mawla, by the name of Aslam. Now Aslam narrated a very interesting story to all of us about Umar Bin AbdulAziz that I truly believe every single Muslim has to know. And the story goes is that one of the times that Umar Bin AbdulAziz was walking around the Medina, searching for anybody who's in need for anything, just checking on his ra'iyah, checking on the people who live in the Medina itself, as he was known to be doing constantly, is that Umar Bin AbdulAziz got a little tired. He was older at that stage. And when he got tired, he sat near some sort of a wall of some sort, whether it's a bustan wall or whether it's any kind of wall. And when he's sitting there just to take a rest, a small rest, he heard a very interesting and intriguing discussion happening from behind the wall. He heard a woman speaking to a young girl, to her daughter, and the conversation was loud enough that he can clearly hear what's happening. And it was an intriguing discussion happening between a woman and her daughter. The woman had a discussion with her daughter about the fact that she wanted her, and the daughter used to work in the, really selling milk in a sense. She was telling her the only way for you to profit more at these times here is that if you mix your milk with a little bit of water, increase the amount of the milk that you have by adding some water to it. Cheat, really, in a sense, is what she's saying to her. And the daughter continuously kept on saying, no, I will not do that. This daughter, righteous girl, young woman. She did not want to do this. And then the mother kept on asking her, well, why will you not do this? And then she said to her, did you not hear what Umar Bin AbdulAziz said? Umar Bin AbdulAziz, the wali, the Amir of the Mu'mineen, said that you shouldn't do this. And then the mother answered her and she said to her, well, where's Umar Bin AbdulAziz now? He can't see this. SubhanAllah, and he's sitting on the outside. So the daughter, interestingly enough, she said to her, I would not have obeyed Umar Bin AbdulAziz in the open, in the alan, and disobeyed him in secrecy when I'm hiding from him. I won't do that. I won't be two-faced to him. I will obey him in the open and in the sir, and in the secret. Umar Bin AbdulAziz immediately at this moment, he told his the servant that he was with him, قال له يا أسلم علم الباب, mark this door. And then he left. And then the next morning he sent Aslam and he says to him, Aslam, go check on this household and see if this daughter, this woman, the girl, if she's married. So Aslam went to him and came back and he said to him, no, she's not married. فَجَمَعَ عُمْرُ الْخَطَّابِ بَنِيهِ. Then he combined all of his sons. Imagine this. Umar al-Khattab combined all of his sons and he says to them, which one of you needs a wife, for I have the perfect one? قال أحدهم عاصم. Asim ibn Umar al-Khattab was one of them. He responded to him and he says to him, I don't have a wife and I need one. So Umar al-Khattab immediately married him to this young woman. Imagine Umar al-Khattab didn't send Aslam the next morning to check on her family, on her money, on her status, on her wealth. Umar al-Khattab was content with the fact that she was fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal, is that she said, I will not disobey Amir al-Mu'mineen in the alan, obey him in the alan and disobey him in secrecy. He was content with the fact that she was a righteous woman who was fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that to him was enough. And this in itself is a lesson. Righteous woman. Days go by and Asim and this woman have a young daughter. And this young daughter grows up and she marries one of Bani Umayyah, a very famous prince of Bani Umayyah. Her and the prince have a young baby boy that has changed the history of humanity and the history of the Islamic world in a sense. And if you at this moment don't know who we're talking about, then we need to go back to our history books. These two young men and women, they had a man by the name of Umar Bin AbdulAziz. Umar Bin AbdulAziz was such a famous man to the point where he absolutely changed the principles of justice in Islam. He was a man who came after so many injustices have occurred, and he changed things so quickly. He was the epitome of justice. But Umar Bin AbdulAziz, my dearly beloved brothers and respected sisters, was a normal young man when he was growing up. He wasn't a man that everyone always thought so highly of when he was young. He was smart and he was known to be smart. He used to seek knowledge, and that was a very important thing when he was young. But Umar Bin AbdulAziz changed during his life. A major change. And this change didn't happen to him because of an accident of some sort. This change didn't happen to him because some sort of atrocity that he has witnessed. This change didn't happen because he witnessed death. He didn't change because he saw something bad. Umar Bin AbdulAziz, he has made a change from being the prince, the one who's raised with the princess, the one who has riches, has servants. He changed into a man who is a zahid immediately after he became the Khalifa of the Mu'mineen. Imagine this type of change. It's not a change that we are ever can comprehend, because nowadays where we live, even if you have a righteous person, when the moment he becomes a leader of some sort, most likely he changes to the other side. Most likely. إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. Except for those whom Allah Azza wa Jal has mercy upon. Imagine Umar Bin AbdulAziz at that time. And when he became a Khalifa, there was an interesting story about how he became a Khalifa. Umar Bin AbdulAziz, as he was growing up with his cousins and his uncle, the sons of his uncle. And his cousin, the closest one to him, Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, was nearing death. And he was trying to appoint someone that comes after him. And he was thinking. And subhanAllah, for the qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal, he used to have this righteous wazir, this righteous assistant that used to help him out. And he says to him, don't give this khilafah to your brothers. They're not really good. They're not the best. They're not the ones that are fully worthy of this. Give it to your cousin Umar Bin AbdulAziz, for barely he's a smart person, he's fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal. But Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik was concerned with the fact that if he makes this khilafah, that his brothers and his sons will not like it. So he did something that was very interesting for that time. He wrote a letter. And in this letter he said the name of the person who's going to be the Khalifa after him. And before he died, he told all of his sons, all of his cousins and all of his brothers, he was telling them that the name of the person who's going to be a Khalifa is in this letter that I have here. And it was a sealed letter. It was a closed letter. And he asked them to make bay'ah for the person in the letter itself before he actually died, to make sure that they don't fight after him. To make sure that they don't fight after him. And subhanAllah, when he died, they brought the letter on the minbar. Because the Masjid was the center of the Islamic policies and politics. They brought the letter on the minbar before he was even buried. And they read the letter, and to everyone's surprise, it wasn't one of his brothers, it wasn't one of his sons, it was Umar Bin AbdulAziz, his cousin. And Umar Bin AbdulAziz was devastated. Devastated. He knew that this was going to bring such a huge change to his lifestyle, to the way that he lives, that he was scared of it. He was truly scared of wilayah, of being a khalifa. And immediately after they go and they finish the burial of the previous Khalifa, Umar Bin AbdulAziz stands up on the minbar. And he's scared, he's concerned. And then he speaks to everyone, he says to them, Ya ayyuhan nas, inni qad ibtulitu bihadha al-amr min ghayri ra'yin minni. I have been tested with this matter of khilafah without me giving any opinion. I don't really want it. No one has asked my opinion about this. وَلَا مَشُورَةٍ مِّنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And you have not been asked about me either. You just made bay'ah to someone you don't even know. This is what he's saying to them. قَالَ وَإِنِّي خَلَعْتُ مَا فِي أَعْنَاقِكُمْ مِنْ بَيْعَةٍ لِي. And my bay'ah, the one that you have made for me before, I don't want it. I have taken it off. You don't have to, I don't have to be your leader. Choose someone else that would be fit for your leadership. Imagine a person who's given the khilafah nowadays and who would say this. So the people in the masjid, they yelled out. They stood up and they said, we want you. Take care of our matters and tawakkal ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Umar Bin AbdulAziz stood down from the minbar. And one of the first things that he did, and this is truly when the lessons begin, one of the first things that he did is that he went to his house. And he was married to a woman by the name of Fatima. She was the daughter of a Khalifa. And she had brothers who were, all of them were Khalifas. And now she's married to a Khalifa, a noble woman, without a doubt. And he says to her, Ya Fatima, ikhtari ya Fatima. Choose, Fatima. He walks up to her and he says to her, choose. And then she says, choose between what? He says to her, choose between me or the lifestyle that you used to have before. Choose between me or all of the jewelry, all of the clothing, everything that you have, that you used to have before, that your brothers gave to you, that your uncles gave to you, that your father has given to you. This was a rich woman before he even met her. But he told her at that moment to make a choice. And he asked her to return all of the jewelry that has been given to her by her father, the Khalifa, prior to him, back to Bayt al-Muslimin, Bayt al-Muslimin. All of the money that his wife used to have, and this is her rightful money because she didn't steal it, she got it as a gift, regardless of how the person who gave it to her as a gift got it. All of it has to go to the state bank. The bank that's run by the state, the bank that's owned by the people, by the Muslimin. All of it. And imagine her choosing her righteous husband over the worldly affairs, over anything that is worldly. She gives back her jewelry and she decides to live with her righteous husband. My dearly beloved brothers and respected sisters, Umar Bin AbdulAziz established at this moment here the first principle of being a leader in the Islamic community. Which is, if you want to be a leader in any Islamic community, then you must begin by fixing your own household before you try to fix anybody else's household. He began with himself. He didn't ask the other people to go ahead and to give their money first. No, he said, my household first, my wife first, my money first, that has to go back to everybody else. And then he asked all of his cousins, all of the princes of Bani Umayyah, to give back the money that they used to take from the Muslim state back to the state. All of the money. And no longer can money just be given to you because you're a prince. If you have a job, guess what? You'll get your money's worth, but you're not going to get money just because you're a prince or just because your last name is Umayyah. This is not the case anymore. And this, as you can understand, irritated his cousins very well, very much. And they sent every single person to him. Every single person that he cared for. They sent him his auntie, they sent him his son, and his answer all the time was, go back. قال فإن أبي يقول, when they sent him his son, Abdul Malik, he says to him, go back to them and tell them that my father says, إني أخاف إن عصيت ربي عذاب يوم. I'm afraid, I am fearful, I'm not going to get back to them. I am afraid on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge me for every single thing that I do wrong. And here is the second principle for leadership. My dearly beloved brothers and respected sisters, if you take a position of leadership in an Islamic community, then you must be fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal. You must be fearful of the fact that there is going to be a day when you are going to be held accountable for every single thing that you do. Leadership is not an easy thing. And Umar Bin AbdulAziz epitomizes it. He tells you the perfect type of leadership. And he gives you lesson after lesson after lesson in his life. And that is why we read the stories of these righteous people. And that is why we speak about the stories of these righteous people. Umar Bin AbdulAziz, my dearly beloved brothers and respected sisters, was so fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal, and so fearful of the day of judgment, of the hereafter, where stories after stories have been told. And this was the main principle that he stuck to when he was ruling the state, or the Muslim state at that time. If you can imagine it or not, the Muslim state during his time was almost the quarter of the world as we know it today. It extended almost as far as China and almost as far as France. One state, one country, the Muslim state. And during his times, the man who's ruling all of this, imagine during the, let's say, 2.5 years that he's ruled. 2.5 years that he has ruled, he has absolutely killed poverty. No poor man can be found in the streets. To the point where the rich people, the rich Muslims, used to walk around the streets looking for the poor people to give them their zakat. They didn't know what to do with it. Absolutely killed poverty. This is a man who was so fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal. When he is sitting with his entourage, and a man comes to him and curses him and calls him every single name in the book. This was a man who was so conscious of Allah Azza wa Jal that he responds to him quietly, and he says to him, perhaps you wanted the shaitan to provoke me, so I can use something that is in my power, in my sultan right now, to do something to you, that on the day of judgment you will get back from me in front of Allah. This is our leader. This is a man that every single Muslim has to know about. This is a man that should give you, all of us as Muslims, hopes at the fact that we can change the world as long as you are fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal. As long as the way that you behave towards Allah Azza wa Jal, there is nothing impossible. He wasn't a superman, he wasn't a superhuman, he was a regular righteous man. But he was fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal. And in 2.5 years, he was the kind of man who would send the letters to all of the masajid in the Muslim state, all of the masajid in the Muslim states, where his letter would read, anybody who has some sort of deen, some sort of debt, guess what? The state will pay for it. Anyone who needs to get married and he doesn't have the money, guess what? The state will pay for his marriage. Anyone who needs to go to Hajj and doesn't have it, guess what? The state will pay for it. A state that ranged from as far as India all the way to Europe. Imagine it. Imagine being a part of a history as such. My dearly beloved brothers and respected sisters, we don't read these stories of these righteous men just so we can put our kids to sleep at night time. They should be a way of inspiration for us. Is that Don't think too low of yourself. Don't think you can't change things. Don't think that you don't have any type of power. You, as a Muslim, with being fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal, you can change things. And you can make things happen. And you can truly move this nation into the state that it's in, whether you're happy with it or not, into a better state.